Hey kids! Today I'm bringing you the news! In news that won't affect most of you, but makes me very pleased. It's currently 50-some degrees where I'm at, so it feels nice out. So I decided I would celebrate the nice weather with my sundress and with my flower from my sister Alex, so yay! So in news that does affect everyone, but yet you still probably haven't heard about, our government is facing a shutdown. That's right, the entire United States government is facing a shutdown on March 18th. Now, this government shutdown can be avoided if a temporary stopgap bill is passed that would increase revenue and would give the government some more funding so that it can continue to operate for a few weeks while they work on a longer-term solution. So you would think that this would be #1 priority for the government, right? Because that shutdown, if they don't pass something, they will shut down on March 18th. If you see the calendar behind me, we are currently on March 10th. March 18th is not that far away. But, you know, there's still time. We could pass a bill, right? That's if partisanship doesn't interfere. Currently, there are 2 proposals on the table, one from the Democrats and one from the Republicans. And, as usual, they disagreed with each other on everything. The Republicans had a bill that had sweeping cuts and would cut about $60 billion from the current government budget. And Democrats voted no on that because that was too much. So how much did the Democrats propose cutting? $6.5 billion. Slight difference. So the Republicans, of course, voted no because that wasn't enough of a cut. So because the Republicans think Democrats are cutting too little and Democrats think Republicans are cutting too much, both bills got vetoed. So pretty much partisanship is blocking the government from getting funding, which means that we could have the U.S. government shut down, not able to function for a while, starting on March 18th. And if that isn't worrisome enough economic news, the Treasury Department has come out with a statement that says that America could reach its legal debt limit by April 15th, which means that by April 15th we may have borrowed so much money that we are cut off from borrowing anymore. And since, you know, we won't be able to pay them back anytime soon if we can't even fund our own government operating in a couple of weeks, this could be a problem. So you know who's super concerned about this problem? President Barack Obama, which is a good thing, right? Get the commander-in-chief involved. Good plan. So he's decided that since part of the issue is partisanship, he's going to have a series of informal, bipartisan gatherings to try and get Republicans and Democrats to talk to each other, which is a good idea. I mean, what level is partisanship at right now in America? For the State of the Union address, Republicans and Democrats sit next to each other. Instead of being in 2 separate groups with the Republicans over here and Democrats over here, they intermixed. And they sat next to people they disagreed with and didn't get into fights. And we as a country were supposed to be super proud of them. Yeah. That's a pretty high level of partisanship. So Barack Obama has decided that he's going to get Democrats and Republicans to hang out with each other like regular people, and maybe that'll solve part of the problem. He decided a good way to do this would be Wednesday night. There was a basketball game between the Chicago Bulls and the North Carolina team, the Charlotte Bobcats. So he invited all of the congressional representatives from both Illinois and North Carolina to come hang out at the White House and watch the game together. Great idea, right? Bring the parties together, hang out, have a good time. He planned the gathering at the same time that his Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was having an important meeting with high-up advisors about what the U.S. should do about the situation in Libya and whether the U.S. was in favor of a no-fly zone over Libya. I feel like that was slightly more important for the president to be at. I'm going to give this one a big old right idea, wrong execution. Speaking of execution, we move on now to the story of a man who is convicted of beheading his wife. Muslim al-Hassan has been sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for beheading his wife. Now this is always a bad thing. You never want to behead your wife, and you never want to get arrested for it either. But he has especially bad timing. Mr. Hassan was, along with his wife, the founder of the Muslim-oriented Bridges TV network in New York. Bridges TV was created as a way to create a better media image for Muslims and to try and counter the negative images of Muslims in the media after 9/11. It was supposed to build cultural understanding and get a positive image of Muslims out there in the public eye. And then he killed his wife, and prosecutors say it was out of his determination to control her since she had filed for divorce shortly before that. Now, it's always bad to kill your wife, and it's always bad to kill your wife for reasons that look especially bad on you out of irony for the TV network you created. But it's extra bad that he chose to do this at this particular moment in time, because as I was reading down news on the AP Wire, I read this story, and directly below it comes this story about radical Islam facing a series of hearings in America. Seems that congressional Republican Peter King of New York has decided it is necessary to have an inquiry into Islam in America because he thinks that Al-Qaeda is attempting to radicalize American Muslims. So we need to look into Islam and look into Muslims to make sure that they're not, all secret terrorists out to destroy our country. Speaking of shooting yourself in the foot at the worst possible moment, let's move on to a story about NPR. See, when we were talking about budget cuts earlier and all the things Republicans want to cut, one of the organizations that Republicans think money should be pulled from is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Now, if you've ever watched anything on PBS, you have heard that phrase before because the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is part of what funds PBS. Well, it's also part of what funds NPR. So NPR is already stealing for a fight against Republicans because, they don't want their funding pulled, and Republicans really want to pull that funding. But things are getting even worse now because James O'Keefe, a reporter famous for his undercover videos where he exposes Planned Parenthood and Acorn, now has an undercover video exposing an NPR executive saying all kinds of terrible things about the Tea Party. Basically, this now former NPR fundraising executive, Ron Schiller, said that he considers the members of the Tea Party to be fairly uneducated, to be racist, all kinds of things that, normal people say in conversation fairly frequently. But when you're somebody famous and when you're somebody high up in an organization that is supposed to be known for news, not good things to say on camera. So some say that the Republicans are legitimately just trying to help the country, They're trying to get budget cuts so that the country can be in a better place. And then there are other people who say that the Republicans are pushing for cuts specifically in NPR because NPR is a notoriously fairly liberal left-leaning organization, and they don't want a voice that disagrees with them being put out there. There's another news story that offers a similar controversy of whether Republicans are trying to do something that's beneficial and will help out the government, or whether Republicans are just trying to get liberals to not be hurt as much. And that story comes to us from the great state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire is currently trying to push through a bill that would only allow students to vote in the town where they live for college if their parents have previously established permanent residency there. And if they haven't, then they have to vote in the other towns or states where they're originally from. And there's another bill in New Hampshire that would end registration voters on Election Day because same-day voting can lead to fraudulent voting, can lead to, paperwork that's not exactly on the up and up. So, overall, these seem like pretty good things. And, I wouldn't be opposed to this at all because, you want to make sure that the people who are voting are actually people, that someone didn't, write down a fake name and just go ahead and vote, or that someone didn't steal their friend's name and then it looks like somebody's voting twice, or like dead guys are voting, or whatever, but the motivation behind this bill comes into question when you start listening to what William O'Brien, the current Republican Speaker of New Hampshire State House, is saying about the bill. And he's pretty much saying that it's a good thing because college kids will not vote as much. And direct quotes include that college students are foolish, that college students lack life experience and just vote their feelings. And he's also said, voting as a liberal, that's what kids do. So he makes it pretty clear that the reason he doesn't want college kids to vote as much, and the reason he's putting some restrictions on where college kids can vote is because they will vote for the opposing party. So I realized as I was researching and making this vlog, gosh, I'm being kind of unfair to Republicans. I mean, I'm talking about how they want to cut $60 billion from the budget. I'm talking about how they want to defund NPR. I'm talking about their potentially sketchy motivation for some of the voting laws that they're trying to pass. And I thought, to make this fair, I should really find some things the Democrats are doing that I'm not a super huge fan of. So, I hop on Google, as usual, and I go to the Senate Democrat website, and I see they've got an update on the 9/11 first responders healthcare bill they passed. And they've got an update on repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And these are great things the Democrats have done, but they did them in December. So I thought, gosh, maybe if I go to the House Democrat website, they will have more recent news. And they did. About a bill number 1099 that Democrats fought against and lost. So what exactly have Democrats been doing in the last 3-ish months? Good question. Now, Democrats, since I'm not sure what you're doing, for all I know, you're watching this vlog. So, let me give you a little advice. Do something. Even if what you do turns out to be the wrong choice, doing something stupid is almost always better, and almost always looks better to your constituents, than doing absolutely nothing. So, find something that you support and that you can rally the troops around, or find something that you oppose and get people to go out and oppose it with you, or do the Macarena for all I care. Even though that is always the wrong choice, it is still a choice, which is better than what you're currently doing. So my advice to both Democrats and all of my viewers is this: find something that you believe in, something that you care about, and then go out and do something about it.
Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena.